Is anyone not ready? Observation 1 is inherency. Trump's relationship to Putin creates massive uncertainty about American support of Ukraine. Globe and Mail 18. At the different Mr. Trump showed to Russia, the response in Europe was fearful. Bill said about not pressing Putin. Trump was effectively giving the Kremlin lost carte blanche. Most nervous of all is Ukraine. Poroshenko had been hoping to see Trump push Putin for the return of Crimea and an end to Russia's support for separatist fighters in the breakaway regions of its country. Mr. Poroshenko got neither. Analysts worried Trump might give Putin an informal green light to make further moves in Ukraine. Thus the plan. The United States federal government should direct U.S. Cyber Command to prevent complex catastrophes by providing all necessary assistance to the government of Ukraine in order to accelerate their accession to NATO's Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence, funding and enforcement through normal means, and we reserve the right to clarify. Observation 2 is solvency A. Despite repeated increases in funds providing material cybersecurity assistance to Ukraine in order to help them join NATO's CCDCOE is crucial to holding off the Russian threat. Cyber military cooperation is key to holding the line against further aggression. Logan 18. Addressing the season's barrage of cyber attacks from Moscow will take more than the added funding. Russia has advanced its cyber capabilities while stretching the U.S. and NATO's ability to respond. If the U.S. fails to address the Russian cyber threats abroad, Russian cyber activities may progress to more destructive cyber attacks. The U.S. can help its efforts to counter the Russian cyber threat by supporting and encouraging Ukraine's membership in NATO's CCDCOE. Joining would greatly improve Ukraine's ability to respond to modern malware threats. The U.S. should pursue increasing bilateral and multilateral support to ensure Ukraine can contain and roll back Moscow's continuing cyber offensive. Is the lesson that Moscow learns that it can undertake increasing actions with impunity, then cyber escalations in Ukraine likely will not stop there. And B, increased cybersecurity cooperation with Ukraine sends a signal of support for America's allies. Boyle 17. Cybersecurity is the national security challenge of our time. We can provide leadership to enhance cybersecurity capabilities across Central and Southeast Europe. The U.S. and Ukraine would send a strong, important signal of Western support for Ukraine at a time when it's literally fighting to protect its democratic identity. We must stand strong with the people of Ukraine and our NATO allies and come together in furtherance of our cybersecurity defenses. Advantage 1 is Russia. A. Stopping Russia in Ukraine is key to Czech expansionism. The alternative is justifying further aggression and not sustainable relations. Wood 17. Action not sustainable progress towards a Russian retreat from Ukraine would be a victory for Putin and be seen as a justification of Russian aggression. Even if Moscow might welcome a tactical improvement in relations, there's no evidence to change the underlying Kremlin perception that Russia is locked into a struggle for power with America. Putin's inner circle views Ukraine as the object of a geopolitical contest. The reality of Ukraine as an independent country is one the Kremlin cannot bring itself to admit. B. Ukraine is at the center of a growing U.S.-Russia competition. Countering Russia in the cyber domain is key to maintaining American power and Eastern European independence. Bergman and Kenny 17. Information officer, key line of effort in Russia's continual geopolitical competition with the U.S. and its allies. After the Kremlin-backed president of Ukraine fled Kiev, Russia legally seized the Ukrainian region of Crimea and instigated an insurgency for the Kremlin. If the allure of Western democracy was such that Russia could lose Ukraine, it meant liberal democracy itself posed a threat to the Kremlin. Moscow's goal is to discredit democratic governance and international system. Disinformation campaigns are one of the tools that Russia uses to undercut democracy. The re-emergence of this ideological challenge has helped the U.S. and Europe have guard Russia's treating the information domain like a new theater for conflict and invested in developing its capabilities. Just as it would in developing a new weapon system, the U.S. and Europe now face an ideological competition not seen since the Cold War. C. Continued appeasement of Russian aggression will lead to NATO intervention in World War III. Kramer 17. Russia may have the greater interest in Ukraine, but the West has an even bigger interest in preserving the post-Cold War environment. If that is dismantled, it's conceivable that NATO and the EU could collapse too. Unchallenged, this course will not change. Not since World War II, as Europe faced a greater crisis, the U.S. would be confronted with Article 5. No sane person wants to risk such a scenario, nor does anyone want to risk having any conflicts battle downward into nuclear war. Thus, the key is to minimize approaching any of these possibilities. D. Perception is key. Mixed messages over Ukraine caused Putin to miscalculate American resolve, leading to war. Connolly 16. Putin seems to be engaged in some kind of re-establishment of Russian hegemony and some kind of delusional desire longing for some glorious past. Is also dangerous for Putin to misread U.S. resolve history. Student people who make those calculations. Putin seems to be pushing the hot guns with respect to NATO and to the U.S. And E. U.S.-Russian war leads to extinction. Star 14. The consequences of even a small nuclear war would include catastrophic disruptions of global climate and a global famine, which would cause up to 2 billion people to starve to death. A war fought with less than half of U.S. or Russian strategic nuclear weapons would destroy the human race. The U.S.-Russian war would create such extreme long-term damage to the global environment that it would leave the earth uninhabitable for humans and most animal forms of life. Advantage 2 is Ukrainian democracy. A. Continued Russian cyber attacks create the perception of Ukraine as a failed state and threatens democracy. Greenberg 17. In Ukraine, the quintessential cyber war scenarios come to life. A digital blitzkrieg has pummeled Ukraine for the past 3 years to grasp the significance of these assaults and helps to understand Russia's uniquely abusive relationship with its neighbor. Moscow has long regarded Ukraine as both a rightful part of Russia's empire and important territorial asset from the beginning. One of this major war's digital fronts has been digital. Yushchenko believes Russia's tactics online and off have one single aim to destabilize the situation in Ukraine, to make its government look incompetent and vulnerable. He lumps blackouts and other cyber attacks together, all underhand moves aimed at painting Ukraine as a broken nation. B. Allowing Ukrainian democracy to solidify sparks Putin's fall and ensures a democratic Russia. Gershman 15. If Ukraine can successfully defend its sovereignty in the process and impose heavy costs on the Russian invaders, Putin may learn he's not invincible as he imagines democracy in Russia is possible. The Greek step to autocracy in Russia would be a successful and democratic Ukraine. Putin is a neighboring Ukraine with millions of Russian-speaking people freely expressing themselves will be a magnetic symbol. If Ukraine succeeds, there's possibility for a better outcome. That's why Ukraine's struggle for democracy has consequences for the whole world. C. A failure to overthrow Putin is a bane for global reactionaries and collapses democracy worldwide. McFall 18. Putin actively propagates populist national themes and need for strong leaders in powerful states. Putin seems to be growing in popularity in several European countries as well as in Turkey, Philippines, and the US. Our hyper-connected world offers Mr. Putin his agency opportunities to pursue this ideological war through the use of disinformation bots and fake identities now capable of reaching deep into democratic societies, pushing anti-democratic ideas, and fuel societal discord at the same time that Putin's surging democracy is waning. And D. Democracy saves billions of lives. Authoritarian regimes are history's #1 killer. Wars are worse. Populations are sacrificed. This is the biggest impact in the round. Rebel 09. Freedom is a right to every human being. The incredible economic productivity and wealth produced by free people and their freedom from famines are not the only moral goods of freedom. Freedom greatly reduces the possibility of revolution, civil war, rebellions, guerrilla warfare, coups, violent riots, and the like. The more power rulers have, the less free the people, the more internal violence these people will suffer. Then there's mass genocide. The most destructive means of ending human lives of any form of violence could there be a greater moral good than to end or minimize such mass murder. This is what freedom does, and for this it is emphatically a moral good. This truth that democracies do not make war on each other provides a solution for eliminating war from the world, globalized democratic freedom, where freedom minimizes internal violence, eliminates genocide, mass murder, and solve the problems of war. Such absolute power unleashes internal violence, murders millions, and produces the bloodiest wars. In short, power kills. Absolute power kills absolutely. With that, I'm open for class.
Great, Joe. Great. Okay, let's start on plan text. So what exactly does it mean to provide all necessary assistance?
Assistance such as basically just helping boost Ukraine's cyber defenses.
Right, but you say all necessary defenses. Who determines what is necessary?
That's determined by like the NATO CCDCOE standards.
Wait. Where does your advocacy say that in plan text?
Where does my advocacy say it, or where does my plan text say it?
Yeah, where does plan text say it's determined by NATO?
It doesn't say it's determined by NATO.
So then why wouldn't it be enforced through Congress like most plans are?
What do you mean?
Like, why wouldn't Congress set the standards since, most plans are enforced through Congress, not through NATO?
Because the CCDCOE is a NATO project.
Right, I understand that you say that you want to accelerate their ascension, but
Sure.
You don't say that you work with NATO, do you?
We work with Ukraine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about a piece of evidence in solvency. So what about plan would uniquely trip the brink, since you say State Department is already doubling aid?
The aid that's already being doubled is funding. So the things that we're talking about in the plan are things like, in the unhighlighted part, it's things like the opportunity to test current strategies, response plans.
Wait, where do you, I'm confused again. You in plan text just say all necessary assistance.
Sure.
So I'm confused how you get to this new level of specification that it's going to be exactly this implemented policy.
I mean, I'm not saying that's specifically what we're doing.
Okay, so how do we know that they wouldn't just send more money, since that's what the State Department just passed through Congress and is clearly what Congress's preferred path is?
Because sending additional money is obviously not working.
Okay, so the Trump administration normally follows logical, basic conclusions that have arisen from research?
I mean, I can't confirm or deny that.
Let's talk about democracy.
Sure.
So you say failure to overthrow Putin is the bane of global reactionaries. Why is Trump's election not also an acceleration of reactionary politics around the world?
I mean, it is.
So why is it uniquely Putin?
Because Putin is part of the problem of accelerating it. Trump is definitely part of that in the US.
I guess what I'm asking is if Putin falls, why wouldn't Trump just become the new symbol of failed democracy around the world to accelerate reactionism?
Trump doesn't have the same global cult of influence as Putin does.
He doesn't?
In the US he probably does.
So why is it that after Trump was elected, we started seeing racist reactionaries get elected all over Europe? How is that pointed towards Trump?
That's also an effort of Putin's influence. It's not just Trump.
Well, why is it Putin's influence, since it didn't start and instead accelerated in 2017 with the attempted election of people like Marie Le Pen?
I mean, just because it hasn't been happening here doesn't mean it hasn't been happening. This has been going on since Crimea was annexed in 2014.
Okay, that's fine. I'll take a little prep. 27 was. We're just gonna go 5 off, then advantage 1, advantage 2, solvency.
Comments?
5.
After the off, it's advantage 1, advantage 2.
And then solvency on the bottom.
Yeah.
No, I'm not ready.
Oh, I'm sorry. First off is topicality is the interpretation, rules, and action of the state. Rules prescribe what action is appropriate to guide behavior, while actions must make doable and ambiguous activities. That's March and Olson in 9. Rules prescribe appropriate behavior and not be assumed that they dictate behavior. Actions governed by prescribed doable action and unambiguous way. Distinction is made between rule and behavior realization. Rules provide parameters for action rather than dictate specific action be as a violation. The plan shifts the rules against other command action by encouraging them to provide aid. However, this is extremely vague and doesn't dictate specific instances of aid. That's proven in cross when I ask which type of aid will be given. Literally no answer can be determined. Standards 1. Stable link ground requiring implementation of specific course of actions. Keep stable link ground small will change to give the affirmative the ability to shift favorability on short period days when the force of the negative 3 decision is generic as possible and limits. Holding after specific actions keep occurring to the explosions fall after merely change pre-existing rule structure given the necessary to maintain fair prep on the topic that's already biased and effects they will try to meet by saying their rule leads to action later on. However, that's next topicality effects. Topicality is an infinite voter risk because there's an infinite number of steps that can be taken from claims from solvency, so research is infinitely speculative. And second, looking for plan in vacuum is current key to prevent infinite explosion until the topic specific education making a bright line impossible. And next is action topicality that the app plans to increase action to protect critical infrastructure meeting. Other actions are just to increase allyship. This is an infinite voter because it ensures predictability and gives the app access to advantage outside of the topic and voters and available rules and competing interoperability and investor debate. This is key to fairness in education and prevent judge intervention. Next off is the counter plan, the text. The United States federal government should accede to a comprehensive international treaty on cyberspace modeled after the Chemical Weapons Convention as per Kelloff and Mon in 16. International treaty solved. Russia and China are already on board, but U.S. cyber command operations are trading off. That's Kelloff and Man in 16. Russia sought to conclude a treaty modeled after the Chemical Weapons Convention. Such a treaty would ban the country from secretly enabling malicious code that later activated the reluctance to entertain the idea, raising questions about the U.S.'s true position. Russia and China signed a pact to hawk at each other. A treaty would establish the International Organization of Transboundary Cyber Activities and Intelligence and Activity Operations. Such an organization would provide training and opportunities for state parties needing to acquire cyber training model would work alongside intergovernmental organizations looking to develop and use offensive cyber operations. And next off is multilateralism ed. Cyber multilateralism is succeeding now, however, offensive efforts to destroy this norm that's hitching in Gallagher in 18. Despite their sometimes one step forward, two step forward, back progress, the efforts of multilateral to shift norms in the cyberspace and making headway norms have the potential to reduce the risk of conflict. Progress will require continued cooperation by the United States. These nations serve a bridge to elucidate political challenges, the ongoing enhance cyber capabilities and creates risk to international society. The connectivity makes it impossible to ensure cyber security without cooperation. Dodging states action one state tsunami effective norm setting laying foundation for a full regime and should not be disregarded. And B, cyber multilateral governments is key to climate change systems that shackle 16. Polycentric interaction occurred in the internet and atmosphere. Government helps speed progress while nation participated on regimes and enable social capital and encourage states to behave sustainably. Such undertaking that synergistic effect whereby stakeholders enjoy deepening linkage into the common codes of conduct, the delusion of information, and the enforcement of cyber and climate context. Such an approach could cause more cascade in cybersecurity and climate best practices institutionalized and codified national and international law. Only by working together in partnership can we promote cyber peace and mitigate the effects of climate change. And C, unmitigated climate change is extinction. That's Florian 12. There's unmitigated scientific evidence to show a correlation between CO2 with respect to solar fluctuation. If we continue to ignore and do nothing, humanity will be dire risk the risk of catastrophic anthropomorphic climate change extinction. To higher taking any chances. And next off is impeachment A. Dems win the midterms, they will impeach now, but win margin is so super close that's the cradle in 18. Trump is in trouble. 60% has approved the new law. 538 put the Democrats taking the House and the Senate. The lower Republicans trying to take a lock. If Democrats made it to the majority, then half the country wants him impeached. Well, in the Watergate scandal, makes the poll numbers were better than Trump's. If Democrat gained control, then immense pressure under their base to deliver. It's a picture of the Republicans going along. By the time Trump faced Senate trial, the political calculus shifted and caused Congress to go home with the judges in the 2020 election. It would have no goodwill in the party. Just how long will the coalition stand by the president? D. Plan makes Trump look tough on election security, safe space for the GOP. That's Milwaukee in 18. Thursday's White House briefing on election security timing was speculated significant. There is a group that stands to gain from the Republican members of Congress seeking re-election in tough races. Democrats need at least 23 seats in November, flipping the Republican-leaning congressional independent and moderate. GOP have sworn on Trump town halls or tough questions about Trump and Russia. Lawmakers are having good answers on their constituent, but at least now Republicans are swing voting campaign to have the answer to the Thursday. Briefing continued to pillar the defendant's so-called critical infrastructure, but even doing so answers in a Republican and Congress cannot be prepared for Trump, and C, get this guy out of office to try for Pence, the whole key to prevent World War III that decline in 17. The consequence of leaving President in power, horror, bond, agitation, World War III impeachment would lead to the elevation of Pence, much danger, war, degradation of democratic motion. Trump should not be the president and feel hyperpower. This is an emergency. We need to break the glass next office terror. A. Nakaso dual leadership on the brink now. That's Greenberg in 18. Nakaso dual leader, same stat for confirmation. Cyber communication that increasingly shifted in contrast in the NSA's general spying mission and a series of incredible security lapses. Nakaso appointment highlighted his argument that the cyber community should be split. Nakaso will inherit a massively complex job about people there. It's unprecedented tension between White House and intelligence community, damaging the lack of sensitive tools and emboldened adversary. The drain the mission has never been more important, but the director will certainly have his work cut out for him. And B. NSA intelligence key to disrupt terror attacks. That's Aurelian 17. Section 702 to the Central Counterterrorism Tool, the government down cover terrorism, the U.S. world, the NSA. Surveillance of Al-Qaeda and discovering the corresponding explosive through the monitoring and development of terrorists to the bomb New York City. Say allowing agencies, terrorist organizations, this government hard to identify individuals who are involved in terror. And C. High risk of a nuclear terror attack and impacts million dead lockdown of rights and suppression. That's Harrison Bender 17. Much of the population is suffering a deficit of comprehension, even a single nuclear exposure would represent the rapid overdose will turn modern life off ending the global economy, forcing every society to suspend traditional liberties. This one is so hard to come by government possible once procured, keep pre-orders with the rest of the plot. There's no great feat the mechanism of the crude device recently within reach on Russia. A. Enhancing SciComm cyber capabilities risks a spiral of escalation. Russia will perceive it as inherently offensive. That's Alien 16. Deterrence less reliable when conflict signals for your guys in a situation right from its calculation, building cyber capabilities will enter spiral escalation. The U.S. is in the primary military offensive cyber command alongside cyber espionage agency, integrating NSA cyber defense and cyber espionage doctrine will make it harder for U.S. adversaries to see military capabilities as purely defensive. And B. Trump administration won't escalate with Russia. That's Luke Locke in 18. Trump is not instructed cyber generals to hit back alongside the administration, where the real prospect of escalation through Putin won the contest of escalation dominant to the willing to go further than the U.S. The honest reason the Trump administration would want to proceed carefully so not to escalate cyber war with Russia. And C. No impact in turn. Russia is not an existential threat, but your painting of them hinders on policy and increases conflict. That's Siraj in 15. There was a mistake to respond to Russia's existential threat. The term existential threat only makes sense for Russia a large nuclear stockpile. That is not a threat, even though the relations are good. They're greater than the last month. And to respond effectively, you need to start re-organizing the situation with Washington in policy that work precisely, not limited to existential threat that Russia poses. And no impact to NATO intervention without the U.S. If the U.S. doesn't want them to join, that means that without them, they'll either already have planned or it won't change in democracy. 1. Democratic peace is causally unproven. That's low and 15. Democratic peace appear to be a didactic phenomenon. The logic goes both ways toward belligerent behavior and liberal norms that promote military intervention against non-democratic government and between liberal democracies. Arguments often refute public war originating towards democratic war involvement in realistic goal again to the system-wide allocation of power remains a predominant factor in influence of war peace through your political institution. And 2. Your democratic claims are a joke. Trump is killing democracy. That's clause in 17. Trump is keeping the damaging American democracy. The damage will be left when he leaves office in the far easier to destroy democracy than to build the Olympics. Lord of the White House won the gold and bronze. And the idea of no longer press briefing the tenuous attack on the principle of democracy, cutting democracy as an honor to you. Trump will be a bigger symbol than Putin will be abroad. He destroys democracy even more. Said no Russian fall. Russia will just continue to do so there. Or if failed state, they will have not lead to democracy. This evidence doesn't say it will cause democracy, and multilateralism will be better at creating democracy on solvency 1. No implementation of planned responsibilities will be that's being ignored in 17. There is no national strategy for cybersecurity. Creates a vacuum of responsibility and level change improve the deficit in 18 years. Agencies pursue cybersecurity policy that contradict the cybersecurity concerns of other organizations who produce unnecessary, wasteful, or deleterious redundancy. Cut it, redundancies. And then I did not read that personnel gaps card.
Starting on the T, what exactly are you running T on? Is this vagueness?
It's actions.
It's
so,
actions.
Well, like you could say that they are sort of combined because actions, if your prescription of something that is to be done is not clearly prescribed, then it just isn't an action. So like you could think of it like vagueness, but it is on the word actions.
So I should have to list out every single thing that the plan does?
No, you just probably shouldn't use words like provide aid, assessments of aid where you don't specify like where this aid goes, what it looks like, whether or not it's monetary, whether or not it's offensive or defensive. Like you literally just don't say how they protect critical infrastructure out of the plan.
But what if we don't claim to protect critical infrastructure?
Or prevent conflicts of casualty. I'm just saying you guys don't say how it happens.
Alright, on the cyber treaty counter plan, who is the treaty with? Is it with Russia and China?
I mean, it's an international treaty that like a lot of countries have signed on to. We just point to the fact that Russia and China are already on board as indication that the international community is very willing to join this treaty.
The international community meaning who?
Russia, China, other Western nations. Well, I mean, like, U.S. didn't join, so no one else joined. We say U.S. is key to preventing the essential, like, to ensure that everyone accedes.
Okay. Your card, where in your card does it talk about how, like, point it out if I missed it, but where in your card does it talk about, like, Actually, let me change my question. What kind of cyber treaty is this going to be?
So it bans all cyber attacks and offensive measures. It talks at the bottom about how we would also work with non-governmental, other like smaller states to help them develop their own cyber defense. So it would create an international body to assist, for example, Ukraine, by working with them on like the middle line, establish independent organizations to monitor transborder activity.
Okay, on climate, basically just the only question I have. The story here is that multilateralism is key to climate change.
Cyber multilateralism. Our evidence is very specific that cyber is the internal link to all climate multilateral efforts.
Okay, so cyber multilateralism is.
Yes.
Okay. On impeachment, your A card.
Yeah.
Actually, never mind. On terror, your A card.
Yeah.
Nakasone dual leadership role on the brink of overstretch.
Yeah. So like Nakasone controls NSA and SciComm.
Right.
Right now, he's like created a status where he works with them both equally. But
Right.
when you increase the role of Cyber Command, it forces him to focus less on NSA, which leads to gaps in our security.
Yeah, okay. Where does it say in your card that there's a trade-off? Like,
Yeah,
just point
so
it
at
out
the
to me.
bottom, it talks about tensions between White House and intelligence community damaging sensitive tools. So it's talking about White House DoD having like tension with NSA.
Okay. I'll start with that. Johnny, stop it with a minute left. I'm gonna save it over here. Order is gonna be T. Wait, actually, the order. Order is T, counterplan. Advantage 1. Advantage 2. And then midterms, climate terror. And then solvency at the bottom. Alright, first on topicality, we provide in our Solvency A card multiple possible actions of what we can do. I'm not saying we fiat them, these are just examples of what the plan text could actually do in the context of the round. He's not losing out on any ground from this. Go to the counter interpretation first. An action is a thing that is done or the accomplishment of such a thing. Merriam-Webster 18 says action is a thing that is done, and we do things in Ukraine. On the whole idea of vagueness, normal means solves, read a card and you defend it. It's the neg's job to read links. They have no right to ground that they didn't research, and they've read 4 other off cases. There's no ground loss here. Vagueness on this topic is inevitable. Substantial portions of the top are classified, including what NATO standards include, and if we had to list all of the things that we can or cannot do in the plan, that justifies longer plan text that take away from actual substantive ground. There is no impact to this argument. If they can't provide you with an example of ground, they lose. This is just a waste of time, and our interpretation actually increases net ground. It's a net benefit to our they need an example of abuse to win in the round. Vote on reasonability. I'm reasonably topical here. They read 4 off. There's no ground loss. You're not going to be voting on the T-shell here. Go to advantage A. First, non-unique arguments are predicated on the idea that Putin is a realist. This is untrue. Putin's ideology is rooted in expansionism and fascism. The site's not there. That is... That's modal in 15. I can give you the site later because it's not in the doc. Almost immediately after coming to power, Putin began reviving a neo-American agenda that marked a bold leap towards authoritarianism, empire building, and fascism. Realists are entitled to believe these disparate trends are irrelevant to understanding the ongoing war, but Ukraine experts suggest that downplaying or ignoring these developments is foolhardy. Extend Russia advantage A, that any alternatives to acting as a check on Russia justify further aggression. Extend the C card, such alternatives lead to war. Star 14, the E card proves that this will lead to extinction, and we solve for this. That's the B card, Bergman, Kenny 17. We don't even need to stop Putin's expansionism. We're ahead on the argument that all it takes is a counter to solve. We aren't risking escalation here because we solve back for escalation by providing this check on Ukraine. We solve for the perception of this. This is the D card. Even if you don't buy this framing, we still send a key signal of support for our allies, which prevents the war and prevents escalation from Russia coming forward. We are ahead on this framing, which we solve for. As long as we win that Putin's expansionist, we have access to our advantage. Extinction always outweighs. You vote F. On to advantage 2. They say Trump is killing democracy. Our evidence states that Ukrainian democracy is what is key, not Trump. They say peace is unproven, whatever. There's still other impacts in that card. And Russia's structural problems mean that democracy can in fact replace authoritarianism there. Coast of 16. Russia finds itself an authoritarian country with a weak economy, dependent on price of oil and other raw materials, but there's cause for hope. The first path of reform and democracy is still open to Russia. That's Ukraine. That's what our evidence says. Go to... Did I say counterplan? I think it's the counterplan. Go to the counterplan. Cyber treaties failed, they're non-verifiable, Sheet 17. The proposed digital Geneva Convention to face major challenges, accountability in cyberspace may prove even more difficult. Cyberspace makes it difficult to distinguish defensive and offensive operations. Weapons can be stockpiled, also used in non-attributable ways. It's not clear how a broad treaty can be enforced in this environment, and any cyber treaty would kill U.S. internet freedom and crush its democracy, Sheet 17. A treaty may become a domain of restricted expression and information. We will effectively see a trend developing on Western governments that questions how the internet is currently managed, and we need to take extraordinary care that authoritarian interests don't gain a toehold in this domain. And cooperation with Russia undermines cybersecurity and invites further attacks and weakens our resolve. In Sarah 17, cybersecurity cooperation may reveal U.S. intelligence process or mindsets that actually help us adversaries rush the clock in the case. It's just going to be a fatter that learns even more about U.S. cybersecurity efforts and how to undermine them. Entering into cybersecurity cooperation with bad actors continues to show that the U.S. is not serious about handling such threats and decision and weakness and responding to malicious cyber actors. We'll continue to invite more aggressive cyber actions. The counterplan doesn't solve, even if it does, it's bad, and you can still do both. You can do the plan and write an international cyber treaty. Go to midterms. They can't access any of their impacts, and they're divided on whether or not to impeach. Bartek 625. Democrats may loathe Trump, but there's one thing they can't agree on: whether to support impeachment. The divide is pitting party leaders against liberal activists politically. Impeachment is the equivalent of nuclear war. Many Democrats fear merely brandishing the threat will backfire, antagonizing Republicans, energizing conservative voters who might otherwise skip the midterm vote and turn. Demwood in 2018 backfires and guarantees Trump victory in 2020. Trump will hold off their impacts with veto power in the short term. Bev in 18. Democrats should be careful with their word. Democrats should really hope they don't win a critical mass, for they won't be able to get as much done in the way of legislation. If Democrats were to huge wave, they'd have majority so slow as to be unmanageable. Trump will be waiting in the wings of the veto pen. The new Judiciary Committee chair would be under immediate pressure from the party's liberal base to begin impeachment proceedings. If Democrats win the House majority, much harder for Pelosi to stem the tide. Number of members of the House did vote to impeach. Democrats can never get the 2/4 majority. The Senate to remove, and then would effectively turn the president a victim. And almost the same way Republicans did to Clinton, Democrats are taking control and run both chambers of Congress, who most likely do Trump Fest in 2020 by giving it something as someone to run against. The benefits of losing are substantial. We keep their base angry and fired up heading into 2020. And B, a Trump re-election in 2020 causes extinction. Sullivan 18. Checking Trump requires a few who can be replaced. Temporary absence survival, sustained absence is not. The order will need leadership to increase emissions reductions following the Iran deal, update trade, govern cyberspace, and the U.S. is the only country with sufficient influence. Trump must not be handed another term. The difference between 1 and 2 terms might be 1 versus 10 times. The second could be cataclysmic. Re-election would confirm Trumpism is not an aberration of severe political lines as a new president would resume leadership. On climate change, we solve for multilateralism. The app is literally a multilateral plan. It's the U.S. working with Ukraine to access NATO standards. We solve for all their multilateralism impacts. And finally, on terror. Their impact should have triggered by now. Nakasone has been the head of both organizations for several months. If we would have seen actual increases in terror attacks, we would have seen them now. And AFSOLV's AFSOLV's won a democracy advantage by decreasing Putin's influence, which is cause for terror worldwide.
Alright, I have like 3:30 elsewhere. Let me upload.
What's the order?
Nakasone, actions team. Then put treaty and climate side by side. I'll talk about them both in the same moment. And then solvency, democracy, Russia, impeachment.
Nakasone, T, climate and counterplan, and then you said which one?
So Nakasone action, and then treaty climate, and then solvency, democracy, Russia, impeachment.
One more time.
Nakasone, actions team, treaty, climate, sort of together, solvency, democracy, Russia, immigration. Or, I'm sorry, I wrote IMM in this. I'm throwbacks to last year when we had the immigration. Alright, is everybody ready? On the Nakasone DA, you can extend the argument that he's been ahead for a long time, which means there's no break. No, that means NSA is going to continue being successful in preventing terror. Doesn't matter if you have solved no terror impact. Go to actions key. I want you to extend the argument about extra topicality that I read. This went 100% conceded. They have conceded that they do things outside of the scope of critical infrastructure or actions. We label this as an independent voter. You can vote here as like an easy place to sign your ballot right now, but I'm not collapsing to just T. They have just conceded an independent voter. Go to treaties climate change. They double turn themselves. They read a card that says cooperation with Russia undermines democracy, and then read a card that says the plan solves multilateralism by encouraging more cooperation. That is a double turn. They have effectively argued that they increase multilateral cooperation by working more with Russia, which undermines our ability to have democracy. They double turn themselves, but we are not going for the counter plan. We are just saying that that means that they cannot go for this turn to solving multilateralism on climate, and that you should probably reject their democracy advantage. But next on this solving multilateral, our evidence all talks about how Russia needs to be on board too to solve climate, which means either they're a double turn or they don't get access to offense on multi-line. Go to solvency. They concede the argument about no enforcement means massive impact deficit for the affirmative. They have conceded that plan won't be enforced because no one is going to follow through with the plan. This evidence makes the articulation that agencies will work opposite to one another in diverging a mechanism. This means it also serves as offense against the advantage because they aren't all going to help Russia or Ukraine, but instead others might attack Ukraine or operate in diverging mechanisms because they have such terrible enforcement. This means that plan is never going to be passed in a way that gives them any access to their advantage. That goes 100% conceded. No new responses. Go to democracy. Extend the argument that there's no peace from democracy. This makes the articulation that democracy doesn't decrease conflict. Their impact card is literally 100% about preventing death. They don't get to re-articulate their impact card in the next speech. Next, extend the argument that, next, we are going to control the better internal link to democracy anyway because of the last piece of evidence we read on immigration makes the indication that if Trump stays president, he will destroy democratic norms all over the place. And also they have extend our Trumper evidence that indicates Trump will probably act as just as much of a symbol for democracy destruction as Putin. They don't make any articulation as to why Putin is uniquely bad. Go to Russia. Extend the argument that they are going to escalate because Trump will never let people go to war. We make the articulation that NATO will only operate insofar as Trump allows them to, which means that if Trump is never willing to escalate or go to war with Russia, no one will. This takes out the entirety of the advantage. The only argument they read that sort of applies is the argument that Putin is an irrationalist, but this is about Trump and whether or not he would continue to escalate. Basically, Trump will just let Putin do whatever he wants because they're best friends. There is no impact to voting for the disadvantage, but also we have a try or die impact to war conceded on immigration. Go there, or impeachment. Go there now. As an overview. You will vote negative on the midterms to sad. They have conceded the argument that Dems are going to win now, but the only way to ensure Dem wins is by preventing new cybersecurity legislation. They make three arguments. Their first argument is that Dems do not lead to impeachment. Three arguments. First they say Dems cannot lead to impeachment. Democratic House flips the political dynamic. Trump becomes too much of a liability, so Republicans will impeach too. That's Lichman in 17. Why would Republicans impeach their own guy? The American people demanded move to impeachment and believe Trump is a liability to them. In 2018, a wave of election because the Democrats control the House completely changed the political dynamics. If Democrats wanted, they will have 2 dozen Republicans, which you have enough votes. Republican love Mike Pence. And 2, House win causes Trump to just straight up resign. Dem release the damaging tax return compels him. That's Graham in 17. A Dem win in 2018 would end the Trump presidency, allow them to publish tax return if there's a damaging information, Trump will resign. Reins in the political risk that in CNBC, something that returns could cause damage. All of a sudden, he feels compelled to resign. Control of the committees have power to request returns to make public. Odds that Trump will resign. Even Money Schwartz knows the Donald pretty well. Trump might call it a day as an underview. These piece of evidence makes the articulation that it doesn't matter if you believe Dems will be able to successfully impeach for impeachment, because as soon as they start taking control, Republicans are going to flip to encourage this impeachment process. And also that Trump will resign means this isn't an impact. They have conceded 100% risk of a link, because they make no arguments about why Trump won't be able to win because of Plan. Our evidence is that because you directly attack Russia, that will give the Republican Party new legitimacy, which will ensure Trump stays in office. I want you to go to their turns. Their first turn says that Trump is going to stay in office till 2020. I have a couple arguments here. First, our impact piece of evidence makes the indication that if he does, that will ensure extinction, because he is already going to be pressing toward further and further towards the miscalculated scenarios and diversionary war abroad, which will ensure the onset of World War III means that we have a triad impact of war. They make the articulation that he's going to be able to stem this violence. But first, the probability of Trump initiating a nuclear war now is very high. That's bombed in 16. The prospects of ordering him to launch a nuclear arsenal is very worrisome. The Trump has sole responsibility. Trump's erratic behavior combined with difficult challenges means the possibility will be unusually high. And 2, Trump will submit isolationism that collapses the international order. Multiple existential risks. That's bombed in 16. Trump has suggested you might pull the U.S. out of the Cold War, World War II international order. This would mean reacting to allies and democracy abroad, returning to a pre-World War II system. Puts the major powers in deadlier weapon cooperation is also essential to addressing climate change, infectious disease outbreaks, arms control, emerging technology shocks in one place and cascading around the world bad enough to lock in could collapse the whole system. As an underview, this last piece of evidence turns the democracy advantage, makes the indication that Trump will collapse democracy abroad because he insets this new path towards isolationism, which breaks apart international norms. This means a few things. First, it will means we straight turn the advantage, makes it triad for the disad, and you prefer any risk of the disadvantage. But second argument is it means that we're controlling the access to nuclear war. They don't make any articulation as to why Trump being in office uniquely until 2020 will be bad. We just have to, like, as long as we are winning any risk that Trump will be impeached before 2020, there is no impact to these arguments. But they have conceded that our analysis on whether or not the ways in which extinction comes now is far preferable to theirs, because they have not responded to our analysis that he is already initiating diversionary wars and conflicts abroad. But as an underview for voting, it is pretty much try or die for the disadvantage. They have conceded massive solvency deficits on the case debate, and they have also conceded an independent voter on extra T. So if this isn't good enough, you can drop them because they've conceded their extra column.
Starting now. Okay, order's gonna be extra T, disadvantage, solvency, advantage, one advantage.
What is the name? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Oh, Russia, democracy.
Okay, no.
everyone ready? First, don't vote on extra-D. He doesn't respond to any of my arguments in the vagueness procedural that my interpretation is actually better for debate. He doesn't lose out on any ground. His interpretation is infinitely aggressive. You're not going to be voting on extra-D. The reasonability voter flows through. I'm reasonably topical. Don't vote me down there. On the disadvantage. First, extend my non-unique. Compare our arguments here. Our evidence says that Democrats can't. They're divided because of their constituents. Like, constituents want this, but politicians know that if they try to impeach Trump, it is basically political suicide. They're not going to do it. All he says is that the Democrats winning the House changes the dynamic. Sure, but that doesn't really mean anything if Democrats aren't going to impeach because it leads to political suicide. Cross-apply his Bomb 18 cards that he reads on the bottom that talks about how Trump is irrational. Cross-apply this to his argument that he says Trump is going to resign. Trump's not going to resign. He's an irrational actor. He's a narcissist. He's kind of insane. He's not going to resign. He doesn't access his disad here. You can extend my turn, extend his impacts if you want, because my turn flows through that Dem win leads to Trump taking over in 2020 because he's not going to resign because he is an irrational actor. All of that pressure would have gotten to him by now. It just makes sense. His own evidence says that a Dem win leads to Trump winning in 2020. That leads to extinction. All of their other impacts can flow through there. On solvency, the enforcement is just the defense. Don't vote on it. If we have even like a risk of solvency and we're ahead on our framing issue on Russia advantage, you're going to be voting. You can vote for us there. Even if we don't access 100% enforcement and 100% solvency, one will be solved. Two, our evidence says that perception is key. That's Connolly 16. That's also Greenberg 17 on advantage 2. Perception is key. Even just acting is a check on Russia in order to check Russian expansion and ensure Ukrainian democracy. On advantage 1, he doesn't respond to the framing of like what Putin's goals are. He talks about how Trump's not going to escalate. Yeah, okay, Trump might not escalate. Putin's a crazy fascist who's going to invade Ukraine because he can. That was conceded in the 1NR, flows through to the 2AR. We have any alternative to acting as a check on Russia, justifies aggression, and World War III. You can vote for us on this advantage here because we're ahead on the framing. As long as we win it, that Putin is an expansionist, we have access to this advantage. The escalation isn't going to be coming from Trump because, yeah, we all know Trump and Putin are kind of buddy-buddy. It's going to come in the form of Putin invading Crimea or Ukraine again because he has this weird, like, czarist longing for the past. On the second advantage, again, perception is key here. That's the Greenberg 17 card, that's the A card. Even if we just do something to look like we are acting, that ensures Ukrainian democracy. It goes back to solve for advantage 1. We start Putin's fall, we overthrow, or Putin falls in Russia, leads to democracy in Ukraine, democracy worldwide. Yeah, I'm out of time, so, yeah.